A Washington County Schools superintendent is serving on a new working group assembled by Ohio Governor Mike DeWine to examine property tax reform in the state. Fort Frye Local Schools Superintendent Stephanie Starcher is among the 12 officials from across the state named to the governor's property tax reform working group. The group seeks to examine ways to provide property tax reliefs to Ohioans while also ensuring local schools and other institutions supported by property taxes receive adequate funding. Starcher says she sees her role on the group as being an advocate for public schools across the state and to push for local taxpayer control of local taxpayer dollars.
We need to emphasize local control and local decision making, and I think that's going to be important in this work group. If a local community decides to pass a levy and have certain funds going to its school system or its park or library, then I think we need to respect the local taxpayer's voice in that decision.
The working group was formed in the wake of Governor DeWine's vetoes of provisions in the state budget related to property tax, including one that would have restricted the type of levies local school districts can propose. The State House of Representatives voted to override that veto last week. The Property Tax Reform Working Group is expected to prepare a report with tax reform proposals by September 30th for lawmakers to use when the legislative session resumes in October.